Okay, so now going back into senior thesis supports, I just decided to go ahead and stop that first video and make a second video just for the supports. So, senior thesis support 1. Lucas argues in the article The Place of Judith in the Beowulf manuscript. There were clearly the same two scribes working on Judith, and there is substantial evidence to support Judith was designed for the Beowulf manuscript. Page 463. Also, Christopher, a different narrative in the Beowulf manuscript, is organized similarly to Judith, as they both fill the choir and are compatible in length. Direct quote, actually, compatible in length from page 472. In this explanation about the length of a choir from my senior thesis, quote, a choir is comprised of 4 sheets of paper folded to form 8 leaves in medieval manuscripts, end quote, page 4. Okay, second support to my senior thesis. Neerdorf argues in the article 7th Aethelred in the Genesis of the Beowulf manuscript how a law from 1009 is evidence to support the commencement of the Beowulf manuscript as a textual response to the legal documents patriotic defense of England from the Viking via all means temporal and spiritual. Here is an excerpt from the law as sourced from Neerdorf's article. Quote, the 3 days before Michaelmas, there is to be fasting, almsgiving, and confession, as well as a barefoot procession with relics in hand. From every hide a penny to be rendered, every thane is to give a tithe of his property, and each of his dependents contribute a penny. Every priest is to sing 30 masses, and every deacon 30 psalms. Every religious foundation is to direct attention to the present crisis. The Mass Contra Pagano is to be sung daily. Quoted from page 120. And so in this, I want to say that Michaelmas falls on the liturgical calendar at the end of September. It's named out for the feast of the archangels Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. And so this 30-day prayer petition and the law is going to be happening between Michaelmas and the Feast of All Saints. So this is basically a good chunk of the fall season after the harvest. And now to the senior thesis support 3. The defense of England from the Viking invasions of the early 11th century would require leadership agency of male Beowulf types and female Judith types. The following excerpt detailing the Judith type is shared from my senior thesis paper. Quote, examples of this include, 1, quote, she doubted gifts in this wide earth. There she readily found protection from the glorious Lord when she had most need of favor from the highest judge. End quote, 9 verses 1 through 4a. Second point here, quote, the prudent woman, the holy maiden, end quote, 10 lines 55a and 56b. Third point here, quote, Judith, prudent in mind, this woman of elfin beauty, end quote, 9 lines 13 through 14. Indeed, each of these excerpts attests the heroine embodying faith, intellect, and sagacity, a holy and virtuous body, and a beauty with connection to a specific adjective, the elfin. End of the quote, page 7. Senior thesis support 4. Thus, the character Judith exudes 3 dominant characteristics: a woman of faith. First, a woman of faith. Second, a prudent woman. Third, a woman of elfin beauty. The protagonist's faith agency and prudence agency has emblematic connections to both England as a nation confronting the Viking invasions, as well as Aethelflaed as an Anglo-Saxon warrior leader. And the third characteristic is the most seemingly puzzling, but this elfin beauty could allude to older pre-conversion Northern European ideals explored in Hall's text, Elves in Anglo-Saxon England. This third characteristic, it is elfinescu, connects diathematically to Aethelflaed. There's an actual Aelf in her name, and that is basically a diathematic naming was a custom among Germanic tribes for what we see in the medieval, but how far back don't necessarily know for sure. But it was a way of connecting family identity in the name, and in this case, Aethelflaed has the Aelf term in it, and so it could very well be that the play of the term elfinescu is alluding to the Aelf presence in her name, as well as some other ideas that are explored in greater depth in my paper, but just for the sake of time, I'm not going to open that up because it'll take too long to explain here. So, then senior thesis support 5. In Judith's climactic scene, when the protagonist beheads the drunk and sleeping enemy Holofernes, the poetic structure of the scene, 10 lines 83 through 94, is utilizing two distinct types of Celtic and Anglo-Saxon modes of communication. One, the Celtic lorica, a Trinitarian prayer format naming each person of the Holy Trinity, and two, the hypermetricity of Anglo-Saxon verse, incorporating caesuras and repetitions of sound to emphasize the meaning of the content. Together, these poetic and language structures witness the multicultural dynamic and value present in Anglo-Saxon propaganda literature. And you can explore the work cited on the Prezi 2 to find the sources that support those claims. Okay, thank you.